Muslim Gamer League comes into your sleep.
SubhanAllah. Muslim Gamers League. We're going to definitely speak about that today, inshallah.
It was nothing I ever went after.
Yeah.
And this is what I also try to encourage a lot of new, upcoming young Muslims who want to be du'at, is never approach this with the intention of becoming popular because of it or known because of it, because it will be your disaster. It will be your undoing. It's a constant struggle, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I'm advertising if anybody wants to become Yusha Evans, and I'll sell it for the right price, and I can go off and just I can chuck off to the wilderness somewhere.
SubhanAllah, mashallah.
Because it's not worth it.
I mean, that statement says it all, isn't it?
Adrenaline and rage, I may never change.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to ReRooted Raw. Today we're joined with by a very special guest, brother Yusha Evans. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are things, brother?
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
As a Muslim, they're always alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. You've just flown in,
Yeah,
right?
a couple of days ago.
Wednesday.
How
are you feeling?
Tired. Jet lag has come back. Like I had traveled, I used to travel so much that my body had just become attuned to being tired and just slept when I had time. But now that I've been at home for 18 months and got a strict sleeping schedule, even though I do suffer from insomnia, I was diagnosed with restless leg syndrome. Yeah, bro, it's not.
What's that?
Restless legs is when your legs won't. It's something to do with your nerves. Your legs jerk about in your sleep, and therefore you never get into deep sleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night. It's a long thing. But I'm feeling jet lag now. Yeah, for the first time in a while. That just lets me know, alhamdulillah, that. Travel is a ni'mah, but it's a test as well.
And this isn't your only engagement today, right? You've got another program later today.
Are you sure you're not just dancing in your sleep?
It's possible. I'm doing martial arts.
Maybe you're kicking people.
It's always for practice during night, isn't it?
Or running away from them in Warzone with the Muslim Gamers League.
just takes over.
Something's happened.
Muslim Gamer League comes into your sleep.
SubhanAllah. Muslim Gamers League. We're going to definitely speak about that today, inshallah. But before we get into that, I want us to have a bit more structure going from the beginning to the end. And I know you've done many videos online on social media about your story, how you got started in the Dawah, etc., how you came to Islam. We don't want to get into too much details.
Yeah, it's a bit ran thin on that one.
Yeah, and it's there. I mean, people can go and watch that, inshallah.
In about 100 versions.
Alhamdulillah. That's a good thing, I think, because it's always good to sort of see people's journeys and how Allah guides. It's very powerful. But what I want to talk about before we get into the whole Muslim Gamers League and your Dawah specifically now is that transition from you becoming Muslim to getting involved in the Dawah. How did that happen? Was that a quick transition? Did it take time?
No, I was Muslim for probably a good 8 going on 9 years before getting involved in the Dawah in any way, shape or form. I mean, I wanted to be involved in the Dawah in the sense of when I was introduced to anything called Dawah. I didn't even know that existed in the religion of Islam, that it was actually like a field, a science of proselytizing. Christianity, that's there. The missionaries, I didn't know that in Islam that there was something like that, because I wasn't given Dawah, if you remember. I just had to go to the masjid. But when I found out about it, I knew I wanted to be involved. And I used to help with Why Islam, which is a big Dawah organization in America. I used to help with their booths and used to help go to their training and stuff of that nature. But I took a job in what's known as the DMV area in the United States, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. And my job was I was the fundraiser. I was in charge of making sure that we brought in enough funds. This was like a $3 million budget a year masjid. So part of that was going around in Ramadan and giving, asking for funds that in cooperation with the masajid. And you can't just go there and, stand up during the Taraweeh, you can't just stand up and be like, hey, put your money in the bag. You know what I mean? Like, that's robbery, you know what I mean? Like, has a bag, put some money in it. You have to kind of encourage and coax. So I started to have to prepare little talks, and a lot of it was, about, my fact that I was born and raised not as a Muslim, and that we needed it, because a lot of the fundraising I was doing at the time were for, Dawah projects. So I told my story about how I came to Islam in a super summarized format one time, and there was a brother who was part of the MSA, which is the same as an ISOC here for George Mason University. He heard that, he got in touch with me, he said, we want you to come and tell the long version at our university. So I went there and I did that. This was probably 2007, and back then you could only upload on YouTube 10-minute clips. That was max. And so they uploaded an hour lecture in 6 10-minute clips. Those might be still floating around on YouTube somewhere. And that's kind of the beginning. Eddie from the Dean Show saw that. He had just started his English side, because before that Eddie only did Bosnian videos. So he had just started the English side. He said, I want you to come out here. We're going to do some hard-hitting dawah things, Islam and the Bible, Jesus and Islam. Like, we're going to hit the core things. So I went out there and did those things for him. And part of my slideshows was my email. And after that, it's like people just started emailing me, can you come here? Can you come there? And then that just kind of snowball effect into what I have been doing for the past 13 years before the COVID pandemic, was traveling the globe. It was nothing I ever went after. And this is what I also try to encourage a lot of new, upcoming young Muslims who want to be du'at, is never approach this with the intention of becoming popular because of it, or known because of it, because it will be your disaster. It will be your undoing. Because there's so much baggage that comes along with being known and recognized, and most of it is not good. So I never had that intention. It just happened. It just was thrown in my lap. I'm introverted. I don't like public speaking. I'm not really a people's person, if you ask my wife. So it wasn't natural for me. But when the opportunity came, I rolled with it, and alhamdulillah, we've been able to go at it for nearly 13 years now, spreading the deen as much as possible.
It's a very important point. Seeking, like you're speaking about, not seeking this type of recognition or fame. Whereas, unfortunately, you've probably come across people like this. We get, messages from people, brothers and sisters like that. And they're very innocent. They don't know. Yeah. But they're like, I want to get involved in the dawah. I want to do what, say, I don't know, some sheikh does or some brother does in the dawah. I want to, do videos, be popular, go around, travel, make a living like this.
Yep.
And you have to break it to them nicely, obviously, because they don't know sometimes. But why do you think, like, your thoughts on why do you think there is this perception that's created?
I think a lot of it is because from the outside looking at someone who is popular, someone who's, videos get seen all over the world, and you see them in that country and people are praising them and making dua for them, mashallah. It looks very glamorous to the best of descriptions. It looks like, this must be an amazing life. These people are just living it up, without realizing that everything, and this goes with all of social media, everything that you see when it comes to a video that someone does or social media post of them in this country or that country, you're looking at little small fragments of their life, moments that are captured. You know what I mean? So you're seeing maybe 0.0001% of their life. You don't realize what all goes in to behind the scenes of that, how much being away from home, how much traveling, how much this notoriety and shaitan will play with your intentions of doing it for the right reasons. It's a constant struggle, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I'm advertising if anybody wants to become Yusha Evans, and I'll sell it for the right price, and I can go off and I can chuck off to the wilderness somewhere.
Subhanallah, mashallah.
Because it's not worth it.
I mean, that statement says it all, isn't it? Subhanallah. It's just, and you're right. It's like they see a couple of minutes, and we know. So if you like beyond the physical realm and the spiritual realm, you have shaitan is on your case.
It's a constant struggle. And you're wondering if any of this is even going to be accepted.
Yeah.
It becomes a huge worry, traveling the world for 13 years. If any part of my intention wasn't correct, I could have just wasted all of this time. That's a huge, frightening thought. It's extremely frightening. And we live in this world now where self-promotion is rewarded. So you're here pushing things out on social media thinking like, am I doing this for the right reason? Am I putting this post out there, looking at the numbers, how many people liked it, how many people disliked it, trying to look at the analytics. And I'm looking at analytics to try to see, okay, how can I be more beneficial with the way I post, how I've titled it, algorithm. But in reality, you're asking yourself, are you really doing it for that reason, or are you trying to see those numbers increase?
Yeah, and let me ask you, because this is a very interesting topic, right? Because I've been thinking about this a lot recently as well. Like when social media works on the algorithm, right? So there is an algorithm, and it does choose and favor certain types of, you can say, content or type or style of content, right? Now, from a non-Muslim perspective, when you're putting out, social media, say you're doing something on cooking or I don't know, whatever, bikes, cars, whatever. You as a non-Muslim doing something worldly, you don't have the sort of added factor of, you have to do this for the right reasons. You have to do this for the sake of Allah, right? So, but when Muslims now go into that sphere and they want to do it for the right reasons, but shaitan's always there. Your ego's always there. Now, what advice can you give to Muslims in the age of social media that want to be involved in the dawah, which is already public facing, but more so now because of social media? What advice could you give them to really stay on top of this sincerity and to do the best they can with that, basically?
Check their intentions nonstop. You have to nonstop asking yourself, am I doing this for the right reason? Am I doing it? Because even if you don't come up with a clear answer for that, you know, you might not ever feel settled with the fact that you're doing it for the right reason. The questioning enough, if you're sincerely questioning that, it's a sign that you're probably doing it for the right reasons. You know, if it bothers you, you know, so that would be my biggest advice is, you know, always ask yourself, are you doing this to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is it for the pleasure of yourself? And if you ever feel like you're doing it for the wrong reasons, stop. Just stop. I mean, anybody who's followed me for long enough know that I've taken serious droughts on social media before, like gone ghost for like 6-7 months. You know, it's just because I felt like I wasn't in the right place to be doing this for the right reasons. So I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much, you know, I feel like the other people might be able to be rewarded and stuff like that. Like, that's good, but I have to take myself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the day of judgment. You know what I mean? Like me. So always check your intentions. You know, if that questioning is there, if you feel like a hypocrite, then you're probably, you know, on the right path, doing it for the right reasons. And if you ever feel like you're not doing it, just stop.
And this is big because another thing is we don't think these days. Most people don't stop and think about the action they're about to do and the potential consequences of it. Like, I mean, sometimes I think it's as simple as just asking why. Why are you doing this? You know, is there a need for this? But people don't do that. So just the fact, be conscious what you're saying. Take a few moments before you do your actions and really think it through. And if your intention, if you're really not like happy with it, just stop, take a break, right?
Yeah, just leave it.
Leave it, subhanAllah. And that's powerful. And another thing you go into as well, and I've heard you mention, is about staying in your lane. Now, give us a bit more on that concept. What do you mean by stay in your lane?
Well, this actually came about with a few young brothers here in London that, you know, used to be involved in the Dawah together. They're not anymore, unfortunately, but they wanted me to get together. They were just up and coming in the Dawah scene. I hate that word. It's such a weird connotation to it. But they just said, you know, give us some advice. You've been at this for a little while. And I thought, what would I tell myself at their age if I was getting involved after what I've seen and all the mistakes that I've made either myself or seen others make? And the most important one was staying in your lane, meaning that if your goal is to give da'wah, call people to tawheed, and you're young, you know, so your knowledge surely is not going to be immaculate as of just simply because of your age and what you're trying to accomplish. Focus on the area that you find that you're comfortable with. Calling people to tawheed, do that. Don't get into other people's lane. I mean, don't start giving fatwas. You know what I mean? Don't start doing tafsir of the Quran. Like, you know, these things are not your lane, or deciding who's upon the correct path and who's not upon the correct. Because none of this is going to help non-Muslims come to the religion of Islam. It's just going to cause problems for the Muslims. So that's staying in your lane, which was given an advice given to me, not in those words, by Shaykh Abdullah Shanqiti hafidhullah ta'ala, when I sat down with him many years ago and said, I just want some simple advice in the da'wah for me to go forward that will kind of keep me on the correct path. He said, only speak about things that you know to be true from the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to call people to Islam. He said, if they're like doubtful matters, do not involve yourself in them, and keep yourself quiet about matters upon which scholars should be speaking.
Yeah.
So simple. That advice was just like home run to me. You know what I mean? Because, and he was explaining a little bit further that silence on a matter is better for the Muslims than you to say something that's going to misguide people. It's better even for the scholars. Sometimes we always ask, like, with new matters, where are the scholars on this? Where are the scholars on this? A lot of times they are quiet just because they haven't clearly figured out the solution yet. And it's better for people to make mistakes in ignorance because there's no scholars speaking on it right now than for scholars to say something incorrect. You get what I'm saying? Because they have to bear the weight of their decisions as well. Absolutely. So he said it's better to leave the people, you know, kind of in wonderment about an issue if you're not the one that should be speaking about it, than to give them incorrect information.
And it applies to non-Muslims too, because especially with social media. And
if they ask you something about Islam and you don't know, say I don't know.
That's it.
Simple as that. Say I don't know, but I can try to find out the information for you. So if you want to leave me your email or your contact details, as soon as I can figure out this information, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. Simple. That's how it should be. But and this is,
and people
again,
actually respect that.
They do respect that.
Oh,
and
he doesn't know.
Because everyone these days, everyone knows about everything, right? So as soon as you say I don't know, you come across
like
somewhat
the new
humble.
Apple Watch advert. Have you ever seen it? Have you seen it yet?
I'm not an Apple guy. So maybe this Mohsin's
the new Apple Watch advert is kind of like the questions being asked about the the big questions of the universe, and it starts asking certain questions, and the Apple Watch knows this.
The Apple Watch knows.
And
everything.
the end of the commercial basically goes, well, I would ask deeper questions in the universe, but apparently you already have the answers, and it's cheating.
Wow.
You know, so that's how we are now. We think like we know everything.
Yeah.
This is a Freudian theology would be his theories of the ego and superego. He'd be like, I told you, because literally we are becoming our own gods. You know what I mean? Like we are the end all and have all of the known universe. The universe revolves around us. We know everything, and if we don't know everything, then it's due to some fault of someone else.
I love where this is going, Mohsin. This is my cup of tea now. The whole philosophical, psychological aspects of things. But we're gonna come back to.
Suddenly, I feel like I'm out of my depth.
Yeah.
Great.
No, but this is powerful stuff if you think about it, because there's a very powerful psychological aspect to this. When you go to a non-Muslim in an age where people know everything, and they're used to speaking to people that think they know everything, and someone says, I don't know, we think it's going to be something negative, but if it's going to have a positive impact on that person. He'll be like, look, these people are actually humble and honest. Like if he doesn't know, but he'll get the answer from me, as opposed to, because what happens when you make something up or give a roundabout answer? It comes across in your body language, right? You're going to stutter, you're going to contradict yourself.
You can see that exemplified every day on Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, but
everybody knows everything over there.
Yeah.
They never. There's very rarely an I don't know.
Yeah.
Uttered at Speaker's Corner, and that just lets me know that this like.
Yeah,
this is a problem.
Yeah, and another thing is, it's like, and maybe you can give us some thoughts on the characteristics of a du'at as well, because if we take Speaker's Corner, now there's some good in Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, some of I'm gonna get to.
I don't know, man. I don't know about Speaker's Corner.
But here's the thing.
I've never spoke at Speaker's Corner, and the reason why, when I was asked, many years ago, I was like, "What could I add to Speaker's Corner? Everybody there already knows everything."
SubhanAllah. But this is
it's a soapbox competition.
It is, and I'm just thinking, like, a lot of the conversations that take place there between Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yep.
They come across, the Muslim comes across quite aggressive,
hostile.
Yeah, and I mean, if an honest, sincere non-Muslim who's looking into Islam comes in and watches these videos, which he probably would if he searches Islam, because these are the most popular videos online. Now, when he sees a Muslim speaking down to someone, almost on the verge of cursing someone, really coming across aggressive, what impact is that going to have on that non-Muslim seeking the truth?
They're going to automatically have some aversion.
We don't think about these things, man.
Man, Allah bless the brothers that go, but sometimes I watch the videos just because I know there's going to be an entertainment factor somewhere. Somebody's going to get heated, somebody's going to get pushed, somebody's going to get, like something's about to happen.
Yeah. I remember when we used to go there, me and Sabur used to go there about 6-7 years ago. Literally, there was hardly any cameras there.
Yeah, it's changed so
like
much.
6-7 cameras on each conversation.
I know.
It's madness. It's almost like it's a studio. It's a 24 hours.
Wasn't it you guys who started bringing cameras there in the first place? With your London Dawah movement.
Partially to blame, but
so
actually,
you're kind of I would say you are to blame.
No, but Green's time there was some cameras in Green's
maybe one
Green's
camera
time as well,
and he wasn't really going online, so it was.
So maybe we can.
Don't start putting fingers, man.
Green. Yeah, but I think this is a very important thing that we're still talking about, which is the characteristics of the art. Speaker's Corner is an extreme example of this. But in the Dawah, bro, what would you say as far as to new du'at that are going to be joining the Dawah, thinking about joining the Dawah? Give us, what would be the 3 top characteristics to keep in mind as a Muslim in the Dawah, in your Dawah?
Well, number 1 is concern. And for our brothers who have been around Jamaat al-Tabligh, this is one of the things they talk about, fikr, concern of the heart. But really, this is from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, is that his main characteristic that made him so good at what he did beyond the revelation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him is he cared about people. Genuinely. Had concern for people before Allah had even revealed anything to him. The concern he had for his tribe, for his people, and seeing them in their disputes, and how he settled the one at the Kaaba, and all of the things he got involved in, the Treaty of Fudail. He was always about the people. And even the reason why he would retire to this cave was to try to figure out solutions to help his people. So he had that genuine concern, and that Allah answered that concern with giving him guidance. So you have to care about people. If you don't care about people, don't get involved in the da'wah. You need to do something else. Your line of work needs to be in a cubicle somewhere where you don't have to interact with other human beings and be beneficial to the ummah that way. But if you want to be involved in the da'wah, especially in a public manner, meaning going and physically telling other people about Islam, you have to care about them, because that concern is felt. When you really have concern for another person, we're not going to get metaphysical, but there is energy. Like people can feel that. What comes from the heart goes to the heart, you know, so these things are important. So having a concern for other people. Number 2 is having knowledge about what you're going to speak about. Do not speak about Allah without knowledge, because I've done it in the past, and if there's no more greater regret in my da'wah that I have than going back and seeing videos where I say something that I know is wrong now. And if I would have just double checked that information, looked a little bit deeper, asked a couple of questions, I might not have made that mistake, because it's a very severe matter. Even the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever speaks a lie about me knowingly, let him prepare to take a seat in the hellfire. And for me, some of the scholars go so deep as saying that knowingly could also mean that you didn't do your due diligence to find out that this was directly from the Prophet ﷺ. You're just passing on hearsay, so you have to be very careful about it. And then number 3, I would say, is learn to understand Islam holistically. And I've been trying to say this for many years now in my shift in the way I do da'wah, is rather than the ideological approach to Islam, which is, that's all our da'wah has been for so many years, ideologically figuring out a way to brain wrestle people into agreeing Islam is the truth. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's turned into a lot of people agreeing that Islam either is the truth or is the most, you know, pristine way of life, but hasn't turned into as many practicing Muslims as I think it should, because we don't approach the da'wah from how can Islam help you. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Any other service that is offered to you, when they try to sell it to you, if you look at adverts or whatever, it's how does this product make my life better, easier, you know, in some way it improves upon my life as it is. And that's the approach that we don't take with Islam, is that how can Islam improve upon individual life, societal life, and life as a whole for the human species. And that was the actual entire reason for the revelation, to bring the individual min adh-dhulumati ila nur, from darkness, which darkness is anything but Islam. Anything but Islam. And this was the statement of the companions when they would go give da'wah, even in lands they didn't understand the religion. They would call people from the darkness of false worship, the evil of false worship, to the light of Islam. They didn't need to know what the religion was. If it's not Islam, it's incorrect. So individual from darkness to light, and then it was to bring about justice and equity, not equality. There's a big difference. Equity for society and for people. We're not approaching those issues. You know, we have, you know, we have speakers corner locked down. We have dawah tables, you know, everywhere with the megaphones and microphones. But then there's homelessness that's still rampant, and the Muslims are not the number one, known people that are out serving the needs of humanity. Homelessness, drug addiction, crime, all of these things are happening, and Muslims are not front and center tackling these issues. Not looking for, YouTube videos, not looking for things that can help bolster their organization or online presence or whatever, but just sincerely because we live here and Allah has given us a responsibility to the people around us. So that would be number 1, is have concern for people and sincerity in what you're doing. Number 2, knowledge, know what you're going to speak out. And number 3 is being holistically involved in how Islam can better society.
So that third point, I want to explore that with you a bit more, because I think it's very profound what you just said, which is, it's one thing to theoretically engage with someone and convince them of the truth of this way of life, Islam, right?
That God actually exists. Very easy. Allah has given us everything.
Yeah, and it's intuitive. It makes sense. There's
everything
one God,
that we need to intellectually argue Islam is right there.
Yeah. But along with that, Allah has also given us guidance for all times. So what you're saying is that aspect, the utility aspect of Islam, which is how is it useful for people? Because people, again, by their nature, it's like, what's in it for me? Right? That's the mindset. That's why people don't worship God, because they think that worshiping God is restrictive. It's going to prevent.
And it causes problems.
Yeah, exactly. So for you now, like,
and it's hard for us to argue against that.
Yeah,
because what have we done?
Exactly.
Because the reason this came about to me, because I was reading some of Ibn Kathir's Bidayah wa Nihaya, and talking about how the Prophet ﷺ and the companions made an impact on the world. Like 2-3 companions would go to a foreign land, and the whole land would change before their death. You know what I mean? It would become something beautiful, and Islam would be implemented and followed, and that would have changed effect until now. And now I look at the Muslims. If we look at like the hijrah of the Muslims into the West in the past 200 years, what could we really say is different about the West because of us?
Yeah.
That's a
good
problem.
question.
You know,
that is a question. Yeah.
everywhere we live is still plagued with the rampant problems that all of the West is plagued with: homelessness, you know, drug addiction, poverty, crime. Like all of these things are still the same. We haven't affected them,
and we're not resolving it. In some cases, we're adding to the issues.
Yeah, sometimes we're adding to the issues, and we're creating our own issues, and we're fighting with each other. So, you know, if someone were to ask me what has Muslims holistically done where they've become large minorities in the West, it's a big problem. We've become doctors and engineers, and that's what we like to talk about. But wait a minute, what is that going to do about anything in the hereafter?
Yeah, because I mean, even if from the time of the Prophet ﷺ all the way up until, you can say, about 200-300 years ago, the Muslims always contributed to the world. They always gave, right? And they had, like even today, now historians are finally starting to recognize the contributions of Islam over the past several centuries that led to the development of the modern Western world, science, etc., all of these things, right? But now, especially in the 21st century, it's almost like we've cut off from that aspect of our tradition, which is that the Muslim is supposed to look at the issues and problems of society and see what Muslims can offer the world, right? Now, if we look at our times, what would you say the key issues and problems are that Muslims need to start thinking about and then providing solutions to from the Islamic perspective?
Well, the first one I'll say is the poverty issue, the income inequality.
Yeah.
Islam has an answer for that, because that is becoming more and more stark reality, especially with the pandemic kind of exposed it.
Yes.
Ripped the Band-Aid off. We're quickly heading to a society of the haves and the have-nots. There's nothing really in between. And I remember reading a report I think it was just a few years ago, that came out from Charity Commission, that the Muslims were of the most charitable, I think they were either of the most charitable or the most charitable minority group or whatever in the United Kingdom. But and to me, that just raised a question, that where did that money go? And I guarantee you that it stayed amongst Muslims. It was given to other Muslim organizations or charities overseas or whatnot. Did it ever see its way to the streets of the UK and help the situation of people right here that might not even be Muslim? And I guarantee you that if there was any, it was the smallest portion of that. So we've made no benefits to society in that way. And the world is increasingly becoming, and part of the darkness of the world is based upon greed and that desire of the have-nots to distance themselves farther away from the rest of us peasants. You know what I mean? And that greed creates so many other things that are destroying the world from the very fabric of humanity. And as Muslims, we could be a voice of reason and an answer to some of these things economically. We need more people in high level economics, in finance, to be able to show that Islam has a system that brings about, you know, equity and the ability to trade freely, and the ability to have a life, and for everyone at the very, very top to make sure that the blessings they have been given are then, I don't want it to look like drip down economics, because it's not, but it's, you know, taking care of those who don't have. And that needs to be something that we need to be more cognizant about locally. Like, yes, I know there are Muslims suffering all over the Muslim world, and part of our job in the West is to take care of that. But we cannot forget about the very place where we're living and raising our children. You're about to die and leave your children in this society. So if you haven't done anything to make this place a little bit better, then what are you setting your children up for? The Prophet, I think there's even a hadith, and I don't want to quote wrongly, that charity starts at home. You know, that charity begins with those around you and not halfway across the world. So, you know, that holistic approach to Islam is that how could, and it's not even have to be that we're pushing it, that all of the UK needs to accept Islam. No, but there are policies that are embedded within our religion, that are codified, that could help society be better. But we have to kind of start implementing that ourselves a little bit first.
Absolutely. And I think that also ties in with the sort of moral and ethical aspects as well, because if one thing religion generally does, and Islam specifically does, is it grounds, you know, human worth and value in the idea of God. We know God exists. He's the ultimate authority, you know, and He's created us as human beings and made us ethical beings, so we take care of others, right? So it's not about filling my own pockets. It's about helping my fellow human being as well. Now, I think it leads us to another point, which is the question of meaning, especially with the COVID. one thing that's happened is people have been cut off from what they've known to be the meaning of their life, which is to work, earn money, have a good life, work up that ladder.
There's no more food and circus.
Yeah, I mean, people are sitting at home now having to rethink about the purpose of their life. What is it all about? And again, I don't think we talk about this enough, that Islam actually provides a coherent answer to the meaning of life, which is not only that God exists. We don't believe in a deistic God that's out there, created everything and has nothing to do with us. He didn't create us for a purpose. He created us for a very specific purpose, and people need to know that. So and people don't, unfortunately. And this leads people to, try to escape reality in many different ways, through alcohol, drugs, which are problems in society. Gaming is another thing, right? Which is, especially the youth, they're really sort of spending most of their time.
Get lost in that online world,
the whole days. Like I've like I was mentioning earlier, I've heard crazy stories about people killing their own parents because their parents stopped them from playing certain games. So, I mean, that brings me on nicely to this next thing I want to talk to you about, which is... Nice segue, by the way.
Beautiful segue. I knew where that was going.
Just breezed it right in there.
Like,
I'm used to this now, alhamdulillah. So Muslim Gamers League, right? Now, I'm really interested I'm fascinated with this. You have taken one of the biggest potential problems of the 21st century, especially for the youth and the younger generation, where they're losing themselves in this virtual world, not wanting anything to do with the real world and reality and trying to escape from all of this, and you've turned it into something profoundly positive. Where did that
depends on who you ask.
Well, okay, from the outside, and may Allah make it something profound, inshallah. But where did this thinking start?
A lot of people misunderstand it. A lot of people think that we're promoting gaming. Like if you don't play video games, I'm enticing you, like, come play some video games. It's like that's
I think people. For me, when I came across it, I didn't look into it too much, but straight away I knew exactly what you. I thought, subhanallah, this is like. May Allah preserve your genius, because it's not something that's done before, right?
Well, no, and you never really want to be the first to rock the boat. But when I was during the pandemic, like in the beginning, we all thought this was, what they say, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, something like that. Like this is gonna be a few weeks, and then a few weeks became a few months, and I'm sitting here, I've run out of things to do at home. I've read all I can read. I'm reading my stuff. I've gotten done with most of the work that I can do, and it's wintertime in Minnesota, which means it's negative 30 outside. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? So I started picking up some video games again, because I grew up as a gamer. I grew up in the 80s. I grew up when Atari was released. I was a kid when Ataris came out, and like that was the hottest thing out. And you had a literal joystick with 2 buttons. And then Super Nintendo came out, and it was just like we would spend hours, me and my friends, because if you wanted to play with your friends, you had to physically be in the same place. And there was 2 people. That was it. Playing Super Mario Bros, playing, all these games, Contra, other games. So I grew up in that area when video games, like a lot of the youth these days are coming like, oh, bro, I can't believe your age, you're a gamer. Like, who do you think made who do you think made gaming cool for you guys?
Yeah, you're the first generation.
Like, we did this. You can thank you. You're welcome. So I started playing some more games, because I've always been like an old school Call of Duty Zombies player. Even in my spare time between travels, sometimes I'll play with a few mates I had. But I'm at home now, and I'm going online to play with people, and I'm getting into random lobbies, and I'm like, whoa, gaming has changed. Like people are cursing each other out. People are wishing death upon their other people's mothers, and they're screaming.
In our day, we didn't have that live chat feature.
Yeah, there was no live chat feature.
So we just gamed. In most cases, we didn't have online gaming.
And almost always, when I've played in the past, now I've always played with people I know. Like Zombies is a very offline game.
Right. You could be playing with murderers today, and you won't know. It'd be crazy people online. You don't know, man. Especially those type of games.
And the end of some of these games, like I started playing Warzone. At the end of the game, like the first place, the second place team, or whoever decided to stay around, they can all talk to each other, and it's just like it's like a mad fight. And I have 3 children who all are gamers, like playing video games. My son he's very good at video games, like zombie stuff. And my daughter likes playing video games. And I'm sitting around during the pandemic watching them all play video games. And I'm like, this is a lot of wasting of time. You know what I mean? And I don't know who they're talking to in these chat rooms. They're all on Discord, and stuff like that. And I'm like, what is Discord? Because I'd heard of Discord, but didn't really know what it was. Yeah. And so I started doing some looking into this, and realizing there are so many Muslims out there playing video games. Because my son, my youngest son, has found like Muslims from all over the world playing Roblox together. It's like they just happen to run across each other. And I'm like, there must be a lot of Muslims out there that play video games. So I got in touch with a brother named Dinka. Mashallah, may Allah bless him. He's a Bosnian brother. He's a graphic designer. And I said, bro, I want to create somewhere that Muslims can game together. And he was like, you need a Discord server. you know, you need a Discord server so that we can try to invite people, because Discord is like its own world. You create your own server, you set your own rules. You know, it's like a social media platform that you run. You're the algorithm,
right?
You know, so I got in touch with some people who really knew what they were doing with Discord. We set up a professional server, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to try. The initial goal was just get some other Muslims to play with, so I didn't have to hear all these lunatics screaming at me in the other end of the microphone. And then, you know, we started promoting it, and within like a month, 2 months, there's like 600 people now, 800 people now, 1,000 people now, 50. And I'm like, whoa.
That's crazy.
You know, like, hold on a second. There's something here. So now we have all these Muslims gathered to play video games, and we have brothers, sisters is completely separated. Like, we actually have a sister who physically checks whether or not it's a female to give them the role to put them over there. And I'm like, you know, how can we make this beneficial? So I got into streaming, because I saw a report come out in April of 2020 that the esports industry in streaming, like gaming streaming, because of the pandemic, was rocketing like to like one of the top entertainment sectors. It was more, there were more people watching gaming streams than were watching football.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, there's something here. So I decided to get into that platform, but use it as a way, you know, for youth to come in, see a gaming stream just like any other one they would ever watch, as professional, as well done, as, you know, entertaining as anything else they'll watch, but remind them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give them some nasiha, give them some dawah. If we have non-Muslims that come by the stream, they're going to know what the deal is right away. Muslim Gamers League. We are Muslims. We do not, you know, play around with the deen. If it's time to pray, there's a pause in the stream. We're going to go pray. We're putting our priorities correct. But we are humans just like everybody else. And so we're entering into this platform. And now the youth can feel, you know, a little bit more good going and playing video games, because they're playing with other Muslims. They're talking to each other. They're, you know, reminding each other about Allah. We have, you know, Quran halaqas that are going on. Everything that's happening, we're trying to keep each other grounded about the deen. Because telling kids don't play video games, it's haram.
Yeah. It's not going to work.
Is the easiest way for them to never listen to you ever again.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way for them to turn you off completely, when we can put some rules around it. You know, like there's certain games that I don't allow to be promoted in our server, because these games involve shirk, these games involve nudity, these games involve whatever it might be that's 100% impermissible. And other than that, we leave it. If you want to go to a scholar and ask him, and your scholar tells you that this is impermissible, then guess what? For you, it's impermissible. That's what. It's one of the things that bugs me so much, is that we've made Islam so rigid that there can't be two correct opinions that contradict each other.
I've seen your streaming setup, and I think it's brilliant. I love set design. I've seen what you've done with it. I've seen it grow, and I think it looks absolutely amazing, especially the neons and everything in the background.
He's the one that designed this.
It's very subtle.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I mean,
we tried to make it subtle and not too wild.
Yeah. But it works beautifully, especially.
But I wanted to, if someone that didn't know anything about me or came and popped through the stream,
it looks
they would
like,
stay. They would say, okay, this looks like a serious stream setup. What's going on?
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, your PC must be quite sick.
Alhamdulillah. I built it, both of them. I run two PCs.
Did you build your last PC during the pandemic?
Yes, I built both of them during the pandemic.
How did you source parts? Because there was a big parts shortage, wasn't there?
I went and right before the part shortage got really bad, and bought extras. I bought up a few things. I made some money off of selling some GPUs as well. But I saw the pandemic. I saw the shortages coming. But I live next to something called Micro Center, which is like PC Curries, but only for. They have a whole entire section for custom PC building.
Awesome.
So I just went out and kind of cleaned them.
So how much time do you spend gaming in a week or in a day? I don't know. I mean,
I don't even play every day.
Really?
I play sometimes in the evening with brothers off of stream. So maybe 5-6 hours a week. So depends on how much I got going on. Maybe if not more, a couple hours every other night. And on the weekends, we play a little bit longer.
And how much of that is dawah?
On stream is always. The first 30 to 45 minutes of my stream is always a reminder, always some type of nasiha. Then we record that separately, and that becomes a YouTube video, because I don't keep the streams up. And then after that, we just hang out and stream. But always, even when we're streaming, it's a learned skill. When I'm reading chat and trying to not get killed by other people, we're always talking about dawah, answering questions or things of that nature. But then in the evenings, there's a number of brothers that I personally play with a lot. We're always talking about the deen, talking about, so it's all Muslims hanging out with each other. And sometimes, alhamdulillah, even it's pandemic proof because sometimes at night, like I have my own little private Discord chat rooms, voice rooms with people that I kind of know personally through talking to them or playing with them. They'll just be like 6, 7 brothers hanging out, just talking to each other while they're doing whatever else.
Yeah, it's like a modern version of a coffee shop meetup.
Yeah. And so I just go and I'll just pop in. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, how you doing? I can do it on my phone. I can do it wherever. And we're just hanging out, and brothers are all over the place. You know what I mean? Like in that same chat room might be 2 brothers from California, a brother from New York, a brother from London. We have another brother. I have another brother from Abu Dhabi who actually came all the way here to come to the little meetup that we had the other night.
And it's amazing because what you've done is you've taken something that was out of control and can't be stopped, and made it and put it into a way which is it's manageable, and it's something, and it's in line with your other priorities as a Muslim.
I wanted parents, because I'm looking at this as a parent. I wanted parents who knows that their kids are gaming, have no idea. They don't know anything about that world. You know what I mean? Like if they went and turned on their kids' PS4, PS5, they would be absolutely lost to even look what kind of friends they have. To now feel comfortable with, like, look, if you want to get your kids to play, just send them over to MGL, and there's a few parents that have reached out to me and restricted their parents that you can't play it unless they're part of this.
I'm actually tempted to, because I recently built a PC myself and it's very powerful, but I'm tempted to game as well. The thing with me is I don't have any self-control. So if I started gaming,
join the Muslim Gamers League, bro.
I wouldn't get off it. I'd stay on. So I've just stuck to my PlayStation, and because it's in the living room, my wife.
It's a little bit harder.
Yeah, because my wife's always in there. I can't really touch it unless she's not around. She's gone back to her mum's. Then I can play the PlayStation. Otherwise, yeah. But I mean,
self-control is one of those things that you have to have with gaming.
How do you do it? I mean, I know how addictive gaming can be. When do you know to switch off?
For me, I'm just I'm maybe you just need to get old, bro, because I'm old. You know what I mean? My eyes can only take it for so long, and I get tired. And I'm 41. I'm
46, and I still want to game.
He's very young. He's actually 30.
You just have to know, like, if I have responsibility, like I have a very busy schedule. I can't sit there for hours on ends. I just know that, like, okay, I need to get off. Play a game that you suck at. And then you'll realize you'll get off a lot quicker. You get killed 7, 8, 9 times already. Like, okay,
I'm done for the day.
Warzone's a very good one for that. Yeah.
You know, we were experimenting a while back, especially in the beginning of the pandemic. You know, virtual worlds online. So what we decided to do.
Second Life. Oh god.
Yeah, we went in. Made those avatar characters, went in, and we tried to give dawah to people on these virtual platforms. And one of the brothers like, we need to set up a dawah table on one of these platforms, because you know on these platforms there's Muslims there.
Yeah.
And they've built actually Mecca and Medina and mosques in there, and all this. And there's a shahada that took place. They put it on YouTube. Wow. Really interesting stuff. It's like everything's
pretty soon we're just
online,
gonna be plugged in.
It's all plugged in literally. So we tried.
Pretty soon we're just gonna plug our brains in and just live the rest of our lives.
I've got a friend who's been doing Second Life for years. He's bought all the mods. He spent money on it. You know, he's really into it. But I remember about 6 years ago or 5 years ago, he met someone through this Second Life, then met them in real life. It's a female, and married her, and then came back here. So yeah, it's very dangerous. I don't know how this stuff works, but for me, it just feels like a very dangerous place to be.
It can be, but this is why efforts like this are needed, where it's structuring things for people that are gonna be gaming anyway. You can't stop them.
And our Discord server is like super regulated. Like we have a very clear list of rules about what's allowed, what's not allowed, what you can do, what you can't do. We have, I think, 10 different mods who are there's always someone live on the server at all times, keeping up with things. We have like 15 bots created by some youth. And it's all amazing. The person who designed it is 15. The person who runs and codes all our bots is like 17. Crazy. Like these are all youth. Like you're not going to go in my server and misbehave and things of that nature. And so everything is super regulated. So I feel comfortable. Like now I don't even have to go on it as much as I used to, because I just feel so safe with it. My kids being on it, anyone else's kids being on it in the way we do it, because it just creates this environment of the online scene being so crazy, where it's just a free for all, to now restricting it to kind of, and there's voice rooms where people can chat with each other, because Discord audio is so much better than game chat audio. Yeah. So we've created this kind of platform, and also we've created a platform for other people who want to be content creators in like the gaming scene to be able to use our platform to promote, like we call them official content creators. They create content for MGL under the banner of MGL. It's
literally, you've built a whole ecosystem basically.
Yes, and then we're trying to push some youth that are really good at some games, like Rocket League is one of those games that's you can make really good money on, and Call of Duty. Like there's some youth that we have that are really good, that we're trying to get them into the esports world, to where if they become pro players, they're going to be pro players representing, sponsored by MGL, you know, which is a big thing. And I don't see that as being a problem. I mean, if one of our youth became a footballer, where we'd praise him up, down, left, and right, mashallah, we'd be posting him everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if he becomes a pro footballer on esports, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, he's sitting around gaming all day long. Both require an immense amount of skill, and to be physically in shape, because you cannot sit there for that long without dying. But it's two different things. So I'm trying to bring that stigma off of that as well, is that gaming can be a waste of time, just like playing football can be a waste of time, absolutely. But if we're trying to use and do some good with it and represent our deen, then it's a hobby that's permissible.
Yeah,
it's a hobby that's permissible. And that's you know, an opinion that I've taken from people of knowledge that I trust.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
It's, I mean, it makes sense. And
there can be an opposing opinion.
Yeah,
something can be considered haram and halal at the same time, and both answers be correct, and both answers can be also be incorrect. You know what I mean?
It happens all the time.
This is why fiqh is the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on, if you go and ask a scholar, because I've had people come to me and say, my sheikh said this haram, then it's haram for you, bro. You know what I mean? Like that. Simple as that. You don't need to be playing. If you trust that scholar and you've asked him an opinion upon a matter, and he gives you that opinion, follow it.
Yeah.
Follow it. But then don't come to someone else who might have an opposing opinion from someone just as equally trusted and knowledgeable, and tell them that, no, you have to accept my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, you have to accept the opinion of my scholar's opinion. That's where we get into the problem. Where there's only one black and white answer to every nuance question in the world.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no way that's
and that's
possible.
It's not Islam. I mean,
it's not.
And that's another topic in itself. But I don't think we need to get into that now.
Yep.
Inshallah. But if say some children, you know, kids, parents that want to get their kids are playing games non-stop. You know, they don't know what games they're playing. Don't know what, you know, how to control the situation. If they hear this, come across this podcast, and they want to get the kids involved in Muslim Gamers League, how do they do it?
They could reach out to us. If they're having a problem, this is another service that I'm hoping to open, like a reach out service for parents who want some help with their children's gaming. Maybe it's addiction, maybe it's causing problems. I want to be able to have that avenue for parents, so we're working on that right now, work on the infrastructure for it to make sure that it's done right. But in the interim, they can always reach out to us on muslimgamersleague.com, as well as on muslimgamersleague.com is the link to our Discord server, which again is a platform that they can send their kids to and know that they're regulated. And the parents might not know anything about Discord, but trust me, your children do, and they know how to get involved with it. There's apps. You can be on Discord just about everywhere. It's like the Skype of back in the day, but there's just a whole lot more organized. They can send them over to us, and we will always be there to help youth and make sure that they're doing the right thing. They have to be 13 years and older in order to join Discord. That's Discord's rules, not ours. But if parents are having problems, they can always reach out to us. There's a contact form on muslimgamersleague.com. They can reach out to us there as well.
So they've got to be 13 years and older and make sure they finish their homework before they...
Yep.
Yep.
Parents, whatever rules they have, like, that's what we try to tell our youth. Like, when they come to say, oh, my parents don't do me this, we immediately tell them, this is not our line. If your parents tell you to do something, that's what you do, right or wrong. You go do that, and if you have a problem with that, you need to take that somewhere else. But, you know, this is for... You know, when you're allowed to be here and you want to game with other Muslims, that's fine. And alhamdulillah, like I said, we have about 15, 20 brothers who meet regularly and do like Quran halaqas and do hifz together, and there's all kinds of things.
That's amazing. They actually do that on the Muslim Gamers League.
On the Discord server.
On the Discord server.
Yeah. And we have another brother named Mahir, who is he calls himself Mahir the poet. He's good at poetry, mashallah. He does live, because you can create stages within Discord where you can, you know, go on and people can join, and it's like a virtual stage where he goes on and he does poetry, and I do reminders, and we do like what we call a streamcast, where a few of the brothers who content create for MGO, we get together and we just chat and talk about the state of games and talk about the da'wah and talk about Islam and tech and all kinds of things.
SubhanAllah. It's amazing, mashallah. And there's a lot you've given, you know, parents, I think, as well to think about, as well as people that are into gaming and want to even, I mean, what's the upper cap of age limit? Is no age limit to...
There's no age limit.
You can be 50, 60...
Nope.
As long as you're a gamer and you want to...
As long as... It's not just gaming, it's also tech. There's a lot of our youth in there are aspiring devs and things of that nature, and coders, and actually the entire server was set up by a group of 5 brothers from another server called Muslim Coding Club, where they're just into coding. So there's all kinds of things that go on over there.
It's bringing Muslims together in a productive way.
Bringing a community together that's pandemic proof.
Absolutely.
No, I like it. I really like it. I think
Alhamdulillah.
it's quite exciting. To be honest with you, I'm going to check out the Discord now because I'd like to see what the conversations are like and what people talk about in Muslim Gamers League.
Yep. Discord is the new wave. Yeah, it's the new wave.
Yeah, it's getting big, and I guess it moves us on to the sort of last thing I wanted to really sort of get your thoughts on was,
gaming's so big. That a couple of months ago, Sports Illustrated, the cover of Sports Illustrated was a esports gaming organization called FaZe Clan, which is well known in the gaming industry. But they were that's when you know that it's becoming serious. It's on the front cover of Sports Illustrated.
It's going to get bigger. It's not. It doesn't.
No,
seem
this is going, especially when we live in an era now where they clearly want to keep us out of large groups and crowds and away from each other.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing anytime soon. That people are going to resort to the online world.
Is the gaming curve still peaking?
No, it's now that the pandemic is releasing, and for the time being, who knows? That could change tomorrow. People have started to go back to work. Things have slowed down a bit, but there's always going to be those things where you have the diehard fans and there's seasons, weekends. People are all over the streams. Holidays and summer. So it's just like any other sport. It's becoming, rather than it being an everyday thing like it used to be, it's becoming more now like sports. But it's sports. It's there 24/7, 365. You never get rained out on Rocket League.
It's foolproof from that perspective. Yeah. But the Dawah moving, how do you see the Dawah over the next, say, 10 years? Where is it going online? Is it going digital? How do you see it progressing?
It's gonna have to be more digital because that's clearly where they're trying to move the world, to people almost living in a digital space. I could go down the rabbit hole of why I think that is. A lot of it is very, very dark. But because you're very visible online, you can always be watched and tracked and all that good stuff. But they kind of want us living in that online space. So I think things are going to be more online. And I think that with the Dawah, one of the things that I've always, for at least the past 5-6 years, have been trying to encourage organizations, especially Dawah organizations, to do is stop being reactionary. Stop catching on to the end of trends, because that's what we always do. Wait till a trend is catching on, then we jump on it as it's fading into the sunset, and let us be ahead of these curves. Let us be more, like, as you said, the Muslims of the past were visionaries. They would look at the world in kind of a philosophical way of where is it heading now, so we can kind of try to meet it there, if that makes sense. We want to catch this caravan of people going this way, so we might have to take this little cut and be a little ahead and being trendsetters and things of that nature. Like, we need to get back to that. We're so afraid, of being, I think, misreceived. I think a lot of that is a part of, a lot of our current generation of Muslims in the West are, immigrants. So they're kind of in a new land. You kind of don't want to. You don't want to be that person rocking the boat. You want to be well received. You want to be liked. But I'm hoping that the next generation, kind of come out of that shell a little bit and say, hey, look, we can be trendsetters. We can be movers and shakers. We can be progressive in society while remaining fully Muslim, fully committed to the deen, fully committed to the da'wah at the same time. And that's a balance that needs to be found.
Yes, and now that you've mentioned that, we have to be forward thinkers and look for the trends, not catch the end of the trends. What would you say that, if you were to say the top 3 or upcoming in the next decade, so the youngsters, the young Muslims that's just getting involved in the Dawah, what areas should they be looking into to take that as a stage for the Dawah? Gaming is obviously one of them that you mentioned.
I don't want to say I'm gonna if you're into gaming, what I mean. I don't want it to look like I'm giving da'wah to gaming. It's already, if you're in this platform,
utilize it.
Yeah, utilize it. One thing that I will say that the da'wah needs to, the up and coming du'at, the old school du'at, whatever, is to be able to understand how to use the internet and streaming as a platform to reach large audiences. because yes, it's nice to have a public talk, you know, and to have that energy and feel that energy, but you could also do that for 100,000 people online, creating the right platforms, right modules, the right entertainment lanes, to where Islam can be seen in a much more global aspect, as well as doing it with high quality production wise, entertainment value is there, etc. You know, we need our own, and as well as having our own outlets for social media, because social media is going to only get more censored. Pretty soon there's going to be one kind of line that has to be told on social media, or you're done. You know what I mean? They don't even. It's so simple now is that they don't even have to publicly ban you. They just shadow ban you. They just kick you out of the algorithm. Like you're just floating somewhere. You have 800,000 followers and 8 people are seeing your post. You know, so we need to kind of forward think of that a little bit. Like what if Islam is no longer accepted? And this is for other religious groups as well. And this is something Christians are looking at, you know, and things of that nature, because they're seeing the same things. Is that how are we going to have these same services that social media offers us, but, you know, have them on our own platforms?
Isn't that a little bit problematic in the sense that you might be inadvertently creating our own echo chambers?
Yeah, we could, but the thing is, it needs to be. Why does it have to be Islamic? You know what I mean? Why can't a Muslim just create another social media platform that we keep free? You know what I mean? Like that we keep it the way it should be, a space for people to express ideas, etc., so on and so forth, but censored in the right way. I don't know why we can't do that. It doesn't have to be Muslim Twitter. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying that we need to look at the da'wah more holistically. Yeah, rather than just, you know, the ideological. This is Islam. Accept it, and once they accept it, okay, we'll see you never again. You know what I mean? Like, going back your life. No, we need to look at how we can create these types of things and manage them. That's why I like Discord so much. I run that. When I want to say something to every single person on my Discord server, I can do that and know that every single one of them is going to see it and going to receive it. There's no filter that's going to block it, etc., so on and so forth. So we have to look at that on a grander scale of how we're going to use technology going in the future. Why we don't have our own media. I think Yusuf S has been screaming this for like 20 years now, and we've done nothing about it. You know, why we just don't have things of our own that don't have to be blatant in your face da'wah. It doesn't have to be. Islam is what it is. Like, we don't have to walk around with Muslims strapped all across our chest. You know, we just need to do things. We just need to get to work and put in the work and let the work itself speak. And the Islam is right there. You can see it from anyone who's a practicing Muslim. You don't observe them for more than 15, 20 minutes without realizing they're a Muslim. I don't know why it has to be like that.
Like you saying that now is right. Like all of these new age spiritual movements that are kicking off, you know, and some of the old age ones coming back, like Stoicism and things like this. These people don't, their advocates don't push them like, be a Stoic. They actually say, look, we're living like this. We're doing this, you know, and they live what they're preaching, and then people catch on slowly. So it's almost like you saying about, you know, that this is Islam, we're just pushing it, you know, accept this, and this is, it show them
we have to be cognizant of society.
You
know what I mean? We have to be cognizant of society in a very sociological framework, and understanding, okay, that society is becoming very anti-organized religion. The solution to that is not to try to shove organized religion as down their throat as your what is the word I'm looking for? As your entry point. You know what I mean? Like that's not always going to work. How about showing some works? And this was what all the Anbiya said as well. You know, let your work speak. You know, let the things that you do, you know, be the most important thing about you. Not what you identify as. You know, we've almost come to a point now where we might as well just make Muslim a pronoun. You know what I mean? Like, we're just slapping it on something. You know, and that's not the way to fix everything in da'wah. Oh, these people are doing that. Okay, let's copy that and let's slap Muslim on it. You know what I mean? That only works in certain areas. And, you know, like in the gaming, I slapped it on the front of gaming because the gaming world is madness. Crazy. I want to make sure they understand right away who we are coming out the gate. But when it comes to the general holistic dawah, it doesn't always need to be like
And the
that.
Christians have been doing this for a while. Like even in the
Like,
UK.
let's create a social service arm of our dawah organization that doesn't say Muslim anywhere on
Yeah,
it or anything
yeah.
of that nature, or Islam. You know, that we're just simply here to try to help people. Because it doesn't have to, we don't have to broadcast it.
You don't,
The Prophet
yeah.
ﷺ said, you know, servitude to the people is servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's worship to Allah. Work is worship. So let's do the work and let it speak for itself.
SubhanAllah.
People are going to know you're Muslims anyway.
SubhanAllah. And last thing I wanted to ask you was what is Yusha Evans' plans for the next, say, 5 years in the dawah? What you plan to do yourself?
Wallahu alam. You know, the goal is just to try to keep finding a way to reach people who need help. And for me, that's become kind of my niche now, is how can people be helped? Because there's a lot of people out there, non-Muslims, Muslims, who are suffering. You know, I mean, especially in the world now, the pandemic exposed the mental state of humanity, and that it's depraved in realistic terms, because they took away the food in the circus. You know, the food in the circus was part of like the democratic republic's control of the people. As long as we can keep them distracted and not thinking about a higher purpose or a higher self, then, you know, they'll just do what they're told.
We keep milking them.
We'll just keep milking them. Like, as long as we get them food in circus.
Yeah.
But once you take away the food in circus, people are forced to face themselves. They're forced to face themselves, and they're forced to look inside, because there's nothing keeping them distracted outside. So, you know, for me, my realistic goal is to try to be there to push the boundaries of issues that I think need to be discussed in the Muslim community but are not, that are taboo. The Muslim Gamers League, I think, kind of gave me that brazen bravity that, like, look, I'm getting old now, you know what I mean? Do what you're going to do. Call me what you want to call me. Cancel me. You can't cancel somebody who doesn't care. To talk about issues that need to be talked about. Mental health, you know, addiction, depression, you know, all of these things that Muslims are suffering with left, right, and center. And now I'm starting to see a lot of non-Muslim coming like, I'm not a Muslim, but man, this hit the feels. You know what I mean? On TikTok, I'm seeing that left, right, and center. Is because people are hurting, and they need to understand that we have a creator who knows us, who knows what he's putting us through, who knows our hardship, who knows our grief, who knows our sadness, who knows our sorrows, but is giving us everything that can help us in these situations, inside and outside. So that's my goal. Holistic dawah. Try to help people and meet them where they are. Because a lot of times as Muslims, we're preaching to the choir.
Absolutely, and it's good. It's really good. You actually speak to the Muslims as well as non-Muslims, because the Muslims have the same issues as non-Muslims. Unfortunately, we just because they have the label Muslim or a Muslim name, you think they've figured it all out and understand everything Allah's given them as far as remedies and
if
cures.
you have
for
problems,
everything.
you must not be a Muslim.
Yeah, I mean,
Muslims have no problems.
This is the thing. It's subhanAllah. Alhamdulillah.
And I don't want to be the person preaching to the choir anymore, because I've noticed a lot of times, especially in our da'wah, is that we are speaking on such, you know, like a high level of faith, and that you must be practicing like this, and like, even though these things are beautiful, there's only probably about 5% of your audience that is living like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other 95% are looking at this thinking that I am going to the deepest pits of hell, and there is no hope for me. You know, so I'm trying to tone that down a little bit to make Islam seem more relatable to, like I say, the depressed Muslim, the broken Muslim, the hurting Muslim, the anxiety Muslim, the struggling Muslim, the I need some help, you know, to make it more relatable to everybody, because that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I can't preach to the choir when in reality I'm not in the choir. Yeah. You know, so that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, and it weighs down on you.
Be more realistic and more approachable.
Absolutely, because I mean, if you have that appearance, and like you said, if you're not there yourself, but you appear as if you're there, it burdens you as well.
It hurts.
It does hurt, and
because you feel like a hypocrite.
Yeah,
you watch your videos and like, dude, you are not that.
You are who you're speaking to, basically. SubhanAllah. Anything else, Muslim, you wanna?
No, I think we've got to wrap it up, because Yusha's got to get back as well, inshallah.
Yes,
I got to
inshallah.
chuck across town and chuck back across town.
Jazakallah khair, bro. It was a brilliant episode. May Allah accept from you, and may Allah make it a means for guidance for many people.
All of us.
Inshallah. And yeah, brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khair for watching another episode of ReRooted Raw. If you want to check out the Muslim Gamers League, we'll have the links, inshallah, in the description. And they must have popped up on the screen at some point during the video when Yusha was mentioning them. And yeah, make sure to share, make sure to subscribe, and we'll speak to you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Breaking out the cage, tell 'em lock the chain. Adrenaline and rage. rage, I may never change.